Hey, what's up, Internet? So today I'm going to be reviewing the enhanced wireless controller from PowerA. This thing's pretty cool. What I really like about it is that it's officially licensed by Nintendo, so you know it's a higher quality item. It's not going to be as good as the Pro controller, but it's still pretty good. And the other cool thing is that you can get some official Nintendo characters on there. So the one I'll be reviewing is the Nintendo Mario Silhouette. However, they have several other designs and characters that you could choose from. So the number one thing that I really like about this controller is that it actually includes some extra buttons on the back, which are programmable. You can actually program them to any other button on the controller. The only thing that's not cool about it is that unfortunately you cannot map the joystick click to those buttons. Okay, so the overall feel of this controller, it actually feels really good. It feels very similar to a Pro controller as far as the size and grip goes. The plastic is, of course, going to be a little bit cheaper than the Pro controller, and it's a little bit more lightweight because it's missing some of the components that the Pro controller has. Some slight differences that I will mention include the joysticks seem to be just a little bit higher raised, but at the same time, a little bit smaller on the top surface area. So for me, this kind of was something I didn't like too much about it, but that just comes down to preference. So the other problem that the joysticks pose for me, and keep in mind that I do have large hands, is that when I'm doing any sort of intense gaming and really holding the joystick to the right, I'm actually touching some of the buttons on the face of the controller. For instance, the select button and the screenshot button. Now, those buttons, I will also mention, are raised higher in this controller. So on the official Pro controller, those buttons are a little bit closer to the surface, almost kind of flat with the surface. They don't really protrude too much out of the controller. On this controller, they stick up a bit higher. And the mixture of that with my large hands causes it to accidentally click those buttons. So for instance, I'll be in the middle of a match playing Rocket League and pressing to the right, and my hand touches that select button. Next thing I know, I'm trying to do chat. So the other thing that I'll mention is that the buttons feel a little bit cheaper as well. Don't get me wrong, they still feel nice, they're snappy, and I don't really have any problem with them, but just comparing them to the Pro controller, they don't feel as smooth. They're just a little bit more clicky, but that's another matter of preference. Some people may want that in a controller. I also did want to mention the D-pad on this controller. So the D-pad is nice, it functions well. It's in a similar placing, almost exactly the same placing as the Pro controller. However, on this particular model, the D-pad is really glossy. I don't know if I particularly like the look of that. However, it functions well, so I don't really have too much of an issue with it. Another thing that I have to mention with this controller, it does take AA batteries as opposed to having a rechargeable battery. This could be looked at as a pro or a con. Another thing that surprised me is that it actually came with official name brand Energizer batteries. That's not something you usually see, so that's pretty good. I've been playing with this thing now for a couple weeks, and the batteries have yet to die. So, they advertise 30 hours battery life, and I definitely feel like I've played more than 30 hours, so I can attest to that. Okay. So what does this controller have? Well, it has motion controls, and those do work pretty good. Put in a few hours playing Splatoon with it, and yeah, I had no complaints. It seemed to function just the same as a Pro controller, so that worked really good there. It connects via Bluetooth, so that's good. The wireless is good. What is it missing?
Oh no!
Just like pretty much every other third-party controller, this controller is also missing NFC.
Oh no!
So if you plan on using this with your amiibos, you're going to be pretty much out of luck. You'll have to grab a Joy-Con or something to go ahead and scan those in. This controller does retail for $49.99. However, I did get it for much cheaper on Amazon. The price tends to change by the day. I've been checking it, but it's pretty much always cheaper than $49.99. So I wouldn't recommend going directly to PowerA's website for this. So who would I recommend this controller to? Well, Anyone who's looking for a Pro controller replacement for a slightly cheaper cost and needs some programmable buttons, I would recommend this controller to. However, if you're just thinking about getting this controller or the Pro controller, I would definitely go with the Pro controller. For me, it does feel a bit better and offers those extra features. So for the $20 price difference, in my opinion, the Pro controller, you're not going to beat it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, thanks for hanging out. As always, if you found this video helpful, please do subscribe and of course click that like button. Have you tried this controller? Are you going to try this controller? Let me know what you think in the comments below.